Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm gonna do something a bit different. I'm gonna share with you guys a law career tier list. Because personally, right, after you become a lawyer, you kind of realize that, oh shit, did I just pick the wrong profession? Or what are the kind of career paths I could have chosen? I'm sure you guys, right, as most of you are like law graduates, law students, or you're already lawyers, you may think about some alternative legal careers. I think this video is for you because I basically kind of pick like 19 like law occupations, and I try to rank them from S tier to D tier. And a disclaimer here, if I put some occupation, right, say a paralegal, if I put it in like D tier, right, don't say that, okay, I'm not gonna pick this, I'm not gonna be a paralegal, that kind of thing. It's not like that. It's just based on my personal experience, right? I have my preference. And for your information, I will actually try to assess an occupation based on a lot of factors, like whether you get a good salary, whether the work environment is usually intense or like more relaxed, and also whether your career progression is good, and also how much investment you need to make in order to actually get to that occupation, right? So those are all the factors I would take into consideration before ranking them. So just don't take it too personally, right? Okay, right now let's jump right into it, and I try to rank different career. Let's do it together. So first of all, let's start off with law professor, right? Let me see which photo did I pick for law professor. There are too many different photos. I'm not sure which photo I should use to represent the occupation, sometimes. Law professor, I think, it's this one with the whiteboard. Okay, law professor. Well, let's be honest, right? Definitely not the most like financially rewarding occupation, because when you compare it with like international law firm, that kind of pay is definitely insane compared to a law professor. And I think in terms of the money or salary, right, I wouldn't rank it very high. But at the same time, I also consider that being a professor is pretty cool, to be honest. You actually educate students to become a legal professional. I think that kind of satisfaction you get from being a professor is huge. And personally, I actually could have almost chosen this career path as well, because I actually applied for the PhD in Cambridge as well. I would have ranked it like A tier, but that's one thing. I'm just thinking, right? That probably, actually I would put it B tier. The reason why I think B tier is more suitable is that there's a huge amount of investment you need to make to actually become a good professor, because from the time you graduate from law school, right, a lot of people are already in debt, and then you still need to pursue the like MPhil and then the PhD degree. And although some people can get scholarship, that kind of thing, right? But still, you need to invest like 3 or 4 more years in the academia before you can actually become a professor. And actually, after you graduate, after you defend your thesis, that kind of thing, it doesn't also mean you can get a permanent position at university. And I actually have spoken to some law professors. They actually told me that unless you graduate from really top university, Harvard, Oxbridge, that kind of thing, it's very common that a lot of PhD graduate, they just couldn't get a permanent professorship at universities, right? So actually, the job market is also not doing that well. Another thing is like being a professor, you kind of need to keep working on your laptop every day, because I was one of those students doing my thesis or like my dissertation before, right? The amount of time you need to spend in front of your computer with no human interaction is insane. It just drives you crazy, right? So I think, judging from the lack of social element of being a professor, I don't know about it. I would probably put it at B tier. B tier is still a good tier. I'm just saying, because it's not like it definitely had to be A or S tier to be a good job. And I've seen a lot of examples of people just switching to academia and become a law professor as well. Because as you can imagine, right, after becoming a lawyer for several years, you definitely have the practical experiences, and then the transition into academia could be quite smooth for some people. Because at the end of the day, right, you try to educate law students to become legal professional as well. So I think that practical elements is very important for law professors. And I think it will be a good occupation for you if you've earned enough money working at a big law firm, and then you try to do something more meaningful to the society. I think law professor is really good occupation in that sense. So that's why I think, yeah, it's on a B tier, which is still pretty decent. The next one is criminal barrister, right? Yeah, I think this is criminal barrister. Personally, I think I probably would have put criminal barrister. I'm sorry for anyone doing the criminal cases, that kind of thing, but I probably would put it into C tier. Just hear me out. I'm not picking that because of the pay only. Okay, let's be honest, right? Criminal barrister, you've heard a lot of like news and stories sometimes saying like how the criminal barrister or lawyers are severely underpaid, which is kind of true. Given how meaningful the things they are doing, the amount of pay they get is kind of ridiculous, to be very honest with you, because what we heard from social media or like from TV shows, we're always talking about how to, you need to do justice, or you need to like help the poor. But in reality, it's just kind of ridiculous that as a criminal barrister, you don't earn that much. As a barrister already, you kind of need to pay rent, that kind of thing, already kind of cut your pay half, right? Or quite a lot, right? Coupled with the fact that like the criminal cases are definitely not the most lucrative like businesses like for a legal professional. That's definitely one of the reasons. But the main reasons why I put it in as C tier is actually the fact that I just can't handle criminal cases. Because in the past, when I was a student, I actually shadowed barristers at some big chambers as well, doing some criminal cases. Sometimes I just realize you face this moral dilemma, right? Whether actually the suspect you're representing, did he or she actually commit the crime? Sometimes you actually don't know. You just trust them. I think that could be frustrating, right? When you have the mindset of doing good to the society, but you're not really sure the one you're representing whether they actually do the thing. Although in some cases you could tell, right? But for others, you never know, right? I've been in trials where the barrister I was shadowing, even he couldn't really tell whether the suspect has committed, and I think the crime is like theft, right? In that case, when it comes to crimes like theft, right, it's still kind of okay because it's like only money is like lost, right? It's not like someone get hit or like someone get injured or someone is dead, right? However, imagine if you're representing someone who potentially murders someone or like beats someone up. I just find it difficult to represent them. Even though people say you need to remain professional as a lawyer, that just won't work for me. I personally just couldn't take it. I just can't handle the moral dilemma. I think that's the main thing why I put it as C tier, because it's a job that I need to spend so much of my brain cells to try to do well, but I may end up actually representing a wrong person. The next one is commercial barrister. Commercial barrister, I think it's better for me because of the fact that I mentioned to you, right, I can't handle the moral dilemma I may face being someone handling criminal cases. But for commercial cases, the worst case scenario is someone lost money. But I think that's not the end of the road. But if someone lost their life, right, that's the end of the road for them, right? So I think judging from that definitely ranks higher than criminal barrister. I put it in B here. Yeah, actually, you know what? I may put it at A tier. One good thing about being a barrister that being a commercial solicitor couldn't give me is the fact that if you're really talented barrister or excelling in your this field, you could actually one day be promoted to be a King's Counsel, or in Hong Kong the senior counsel, which I think is one of the best reputation you can have in the society as a whole. And although at first, right, being a barrister, it could be tough. You need to pay rent. and also you don't get a lot of cases as a junior. You need to shadow people, and the financial situation is not as good. If you're someone who really dedicated to the legal industry and you don't mind working very hard, this could be a really financially rewarding occupation and very satisfying occupation for you. You also can practice your advocacy skill. Some people like speaking in front of a crowd. That's exactly what barristers do all the times. And also, I think there are a lot of elements of like thinking critically, analyzing cases. That was actually once on my list as well. If I haven't, chosen to be a commercial solicitor, I would probably have chosen to be a commercial barrister, given the long-term rewards of this job. So I would put it actually A tier, a bit above professor, but way above criminal barrister. Okay, next, DU commission. Actually, I don't know why I put DU commission. I think because when I was a law student, I actually researched for any job opportunities at some big organization like EU commission. And also, I was also in competition law seat as well, because I think it's such a cool job. And working in the EU is just you interact with a lot of people from different parts of Europe as well. It's quite an international environment as well. And they have traineeship opportunities for people who have a specific interest in, say, competition law, trade law, etc. I think it's always good to work in a very international organization. I just think EU Commission is cool, so I would put it B tier, I think. No more explanation, I think, needed, right? Another one is Intergovernmental Organization, right? Okay, I think I will rank this pretty high. It's slightly better, actually. Yeah, I probably would put it at A tier. When I was a student, I actually looked for a lot of internship opportunities at some international organization. I think, for example, Unidraw is a commercial intergovernmental organization specializing in more commercial contracts or a lot of other treaties, right? In this organization, actually, I work with people from Australia, Italy, UK. They're quite international, the people there. And also you're working in international treaties, which is quite interesting, actually, if you like that kind of international framework or work environment, right? So I think it will be a good experience for someone who has a more international mindset. I think based on that, I would put it higher in my list, because for me, right, when it comes to career, I definitely will pick some sort of careers that will, drive me out of my comfort zone, enable me to work at a more international environment. So for that reason, I'll put it at A tier. It also depends on your goal, right? Some people, if you have the ambitious, say, you want to be a freaking attorney or lawyer speaking in front of the judge at the International Court of Justice, right? That's just a really amazing job, right? Do you guys do moot court, that kind of thing, when you were students? I actually really enjoy that kind of experience, solving international issues, international human rights, international even space law, outer space law, that kind of thing. It's just so otherworldly, but at the same time, if you have a strong interest in those kind of specific issues affecting the world, right? I think it would be a very satisfying career. Although financially speaking, I'm actually not very sure how much do you get paid for that kind of jobs, but I would assume it's not too high. As in, it's not like you're working as a partner at an international law firm, but at the same time, it's not as low as you're working at a local, smaller law firm. So I think it's probably in between. So financially speaking, if it's not your only motivation in life when it comes to working, then I think it's a good occupation. So I would put it at A tier. Okay, that one probably a lot of you guys fall within this category. Paralegals. Okay. I would say in general, right, paralegal is a good short-term job because it gives you the experience you need. Unless you're really satisfied with just being a paralegal for the rest of your life, I do think that it's not the best career if you want to stay in the legal industry, and if you are an ambitious person. I probably put it as C tier. I think it's just based on my personal experience. Like, it's a really good occupation when you just first start your law career. You just graduate, you have no experience, you couldn't get a training contract. Go for paralegal. You gain a lot of amazing experiences working with a lot of good lawyers, but there's a limit to it. You can't, I think if you're a young person, you have goals and ambitions, you want to be better and better in the legal industry. You can't just forever work as a paralegal. First of all, right, salary-wise, definitely something worth mentioning. You get paid a lot less than even a trainee solicitor. It's not uncommon for me to see scenarios like, you know, a paralegal working for like 3-4 years, doing a lot of corporate transactions and stuff. They're actually way more qualified and experienced than any of the trainee solicitor who just joined the firm for less than, you know, a few months. However, the trainee solicitor get paid like half, like double the salary than a paralegal. That's the saddest thing when it comes to the kind of contribution you make to the firm. It's not equivalent to the kind of the rewards you actually get from the firm. Judging from that, I think paralegal is not that good as a long-term career option. Yeah, that's just my personal thought. Don't beat me up if you're a paralegal now. Okay, the next one, in-house lawyer. You know what? In-house lawyer always has a bad rep, right? People always say, okay, you work at a big law firm, international law firm, you want a more chill lifestyle, that's why you move in-house, that kind of thing. Although that could be true in some senses, right? Some people find that the corporate environment at international law firms quite stressful. That's why they make the move to in-house working environments. They can have a 9-to-5 or 9-to-6, that kind of lifestyle. They can enjoy their free time, that kind of thing. But I think that also make your life sustainable as well. I actually would put it at A tiers, despite the fact that you're still dedicating, you know, your professional career to law, but you also have a separate life outside of law. I think that's also what makes a career sustainable as well. If you do love some elements of the law, but not to the extent that you actually want to dedicate the whole life to the legal profession, I think that's a good second option for you. And that's why a lot of people nowadays in law firm, the senior associates are kind of in shortage, right? Because not too many people are becoming senior associates these days. Most of them have the PQE 1 to 5 experience, and then they just move on to other career path. That's just a common phenomenon as well nowadays in the legal industry. And also, I've actually heard about stories. Some people from they may be mid-level or senior associate at a big law firm. They move to the in-house of a big international company. They actually get a pay rise. You know, in some cases, and for some big companies, you actually can get equity out of it as well. You actually get good bonuses, etc. So that's why in-house lawyers actually is a pretty financially rewarding occupation as well. If your standard is not like this high, like your living standard is not like you need Lamborghini or like Rolex like every few months, right? It's a pretty sustainable career. At the same time, give you the freedom you have to enjoy life or your time with your family and friends. In that sense, I think it's a pretty good occupation. A tier, for sure. Next one, judge. You know what? Yeah, judge, I think for me it's like between A to S tier. There's nothing more cool than telling someone you're actually a judge at the Supreme Court, or like, I don't know, just any court. It's just so good. And yeah, you know what, I will put it as a S tier, because if I got offer like to be a judge at a court, I may ditch commercial law career, you know, to introduce yourself as, oh, I'm a judge. Like, okay, I think that's just it. That's why it's S tier. At the same time, I feel like the pay is definitely not that bad, although it's not as good as like a partner at a big international law firm. But I can see why people become judges, right? You can really satisfy your curiosity about the law. If you like black letter law, that kind of thing, it will be a good occupation as well. A prosecutor. Yeah. You know what? Prosecutor. I put a B tier, you know what? Mainly based on the fact that it's still the same point like criminal barristers, right? For a prosecutor, there's also a chance that you prosecute someone who is innocent as well. And you need to make your case to actually try to convict that person of a crime that they probably haven't committed. I think that is also that moral dilemma thing, but it's slightly better than... it's it's slightly better than criminal barrister in the sense that I think prosecutor you get a more fixed salary, right? So I'll put it at like B tier. Next one, government lawyers. Yeah, you know what? Government lawyers. I don't really know the UK market that well when it comes to government lawyer because back in Hong Kong, right? I think a lot of people don't mind being a government lawyer because there's a Department of Justice in Hong Kong, right? When you join the government as a lawyer, you actually get a pretty decent salary, equivalent to a salary at a big international law firm as a trainee. So a lot of people actually are eyeing on those like job opportunities at like the government Department of Justice. So I probably put it at B tier as well because I don't think long term is a very rewarding career because I think like the working hour is like really decent, like 9 to 6, like you don't need to work overtime. But I'm not sure about the satisfaction you get from the kind of work you do though, right? Because I think the government lawyers, what they do is completely different from being a corporate or commercial lawyer at a private practice, right? The skill sets are completely different. I'm not in a position to comment on the exact kind of work they do, but I just personally think that career is like a bit more stable, and I don't like things that are too stable. So that's why I think I would put it at B tier in this case. Okay, next one, legal publisher. This one probably none of you has expected it because you probably never even think of it as a career, but you know what? When I was a student, I interned at LexisNexis as well. Like I'm not only talking about LexisNexis here, Westlaw. Those are also opportunities, right? You can pursue as a law graduate or law student because there are a lot of like tasks involved, like editing, like legal books, dictionaries. Commentaries to legislations, that kind of thing. If you're into the black letter law, right? If you're into legal research and writing, right? It's actually not a bad legal career. Although, I don't think it's a very well-paid job unless you're very, very, very senior at your role in those legal publishers. But you definitely have a lot of like contacts with like solicitors, barrister, professor, etc. You can expand your social circle. In that sense, I think it's a pretty good, but I don't think this is like the typical kind of like legal career people will pursue. So I'll probably put it like C tier. Next one is compliance officer. I think it's kind of similar to like paralegal, right? I'll put it as C tier as well. Because I don't think the career progression is very transparent. A lot of people may think it's the case that when people can't like get a training contract or they don't want to go into the legal route, they may think that they want to take another route, maybe with a more like compliance aspect. If you want a very stable job that gives you freedom to live your life outside of work, I think that could be a good occupation. But for my purpose, right, I rank an occupation also based on what kind of the future career progression they can give you, right, or what kind of possibilities they can give you, right? I don't think in that sense compliance officer is a really good job, so I'll put it as C tier for that reason. Same reason as for paralegal as well. Okay, criminal solicitor. I'm just not that interested, but I think criminal solicitor may be a little bit better than barrister for the reason that the salary is a bit more like guaranteed and it's kind of like more fixed in a sense. Compared to a barrister, you need to pay rents and stuff again. But when I put it at B tiers, I don't think I've ever thought about becoming a solicitor specializing in criminal matters. But I know a lot of good firms, even back in Hong Kong, they're doing absolutely amazing jobs. They only work on criminal cases as well. They could be very successful. But for my personal preference, I put it as C tier because I'm just personally not interested in it. Okay, next one, competition lawyer. You know what? I put it at A tier. As some of you guys know, I spent like 6 months in the competition law team at my current firm. You know what? I actually learned so much from the team. And even though now I'm naturally not a competition lawyer, I'm like M&A lawyer, I just can't forget the fact that that's like the first kind of seat or department. I learned so much from the associate because all of them are like super intelligent, very detail-oriented persons. And also, a lot of people think competition lawyers are not as transferable as like M&A lawyers, right? Although that's kind of true. But at the same time, there are a lot of opportunities nowadays for competition lawyer. Like the EU Commission, Brussels is really huge in competition law as well. Even in the US or like Asia Pacific region, competition law is a big thing. We have our own commission as well. Local authorities monitoring the competition issues in our region. So I think it's a pretty transferable occupation in the sense that a lot of the models are based on the EU models. So that's why it's quite interchangeable in a sense. So that if you're a competition law professional in, say, UK, you can definitely move to Asia, or you can move to the EU or even the US. I think the transferability is pretty high. In that sense, I think it opens up quite a lot of opportunities and your career progression as well. So that's why I think I would put it at A tier. Next, tax lawyer. I think tax lawyer is quite similar to competition law in a sense, right? I also did a tax seat before as well. I think I will put it slightly lower than competition lawyer. I think there are more people elements to competition law. Because for competition law, right, when I manage filing that kind of thing, I can see myself doing something quite similar to being an M&A lawyer, because there are a lot of coordination, speaking with a lot of different people, get the information you need, that kind of organization, or like to be on top of everything. I can see some of the elements in a competition law matter as well. However, for tax lawyer, I think it's purely more technical. You need to focus a lot on the black letter law, and people in the tax departments are usually very intelligent, but at the same time, I feel like I just can't see myself spending like 10 hours or more a day to study a tax law issue. My brain will probably explode, and I just find it quite exhausting to look at or analyze black letter law for that long. Yeah, I think it's always good sometimes to have either a really technical legal profession or a very transferable legal profession. Maybe corporate lawyers are more in that end of spectrum, that you can transfer your skill set to many other industry. But at the same time, tax or competition lawyer, you have that expertise that you can use to actually make yourself very attractive as a candidate, because no one can easily replace you as well. I think they are like at the other end of the spectrum. Next one, offshore law firms like the Cayman Island, Jersey, that kind of like law firm specializing in that kind of like region. Usually some tax related questions as well, or like financial related issues as well. I think they also have like a magic circle for the offshore law firms as well. I actually worked in one of them as a paralegal probably a few years ago, before I got my training contract. It's pretty nice if you don't want the intense work environment while you also want to enjoy a decent pay. I'll probably put it like a B tier as well. Not a bad career to pursue, I think. Definitely not as financially rewarding as like international big law firm corporate department, but I think it's good enough for some people who want to take a back seat in their career. Legal translation. Yeah, I'm sorry about it, but I think D tier. I don't even think a lot of you guys think of it as a legal career. Not that it's non-existent, right? I know a lot of people, not a lot of people actually, but I know some people working in this field as well. But I just don't think it's like a long-term good career for me. I'm not going to talk a lot about it though, because I'm not sure a lot of you will be interested anyway. Okay, the final two. This one. Corporate lawyer at big law. You know what? I'll put it at S tier. Not for the reason that I can earn a lot of money. If you become a corporate lawyer at a big international law firm, money-wise, right? You're basically top 5% of the of the city, like compared in terms of your annual income, right? Of course, if you earn a lot of money, you can increase your standard of living, that kind of thing. And for that reason, it's definitely a very attractive career. But I'm not that short-sighted in the sense that I think this is a good career because of a few reasons. Firstly, the kind of the training you get. When it comes to a big law firm, I think, right, Although some people may argue, okay, smaller law firm, you can actually have a lot of more responsibilities, that kind of thing. But I think you start your career with a big law firm, the kind of training you get is more structured. Some people like a more structured training system. I think I do like a bit more structured training system because you learn the absolute basics from that training system. I think that's a very good career that does not only give you the kind of training experience you need, but also give you the kind of credibility you need in the industry as well. Because let's be honest, right? A lot of people in this industry, they will trust someone who was trained at a big law firm. And later on, if they want to scale down, it's still okay. In the legal industry, it's definitely quite elitism, right? When you're from a big law firms or when you were trained there before, people definitely are thinking very highly of you, right? In other words, training at those big law firms or like working at those big law firms for several years at least give you a very good advantage. What I like the most about being a corporate lawyer at a big law firm is also the fact that you can get a lot of good client contact, and you interact a lot with those big organization, companies, etc. I think that's a very good learning experience as well. Being a corporate lawyer at a big law firm gives you a lot of future possibilities, because when you think about it, right, it's not uncommon in the legal industry. A lot of people realize later on in their career that they may not necessarily want to be a lawyer. What should they do next? The answer is they could literally do everything, because being a corporate lawyer gives you a lot of the skill sets you need, and those skill sets are pretty much transferable to other industries that require organization, management skill, interpersonal skills. I think it's just the kind of career that can give you the skill sets you need in order to thrive in another industry as well. I think that's the most attractive thing about being a corporate lawyer. But even for those who are not necessarily interested to be a corporate lawyer forever, the kind of skill sets you get, the kind of reputation you get in this industry, all those things combined together just make this occupation the S-tier occupation. I'm not saying that because I'm currently working as a corporate lawyer, but it's just objectively speaking, I've always known that that's the reason why I've picked this career. I cannot guarantee that I will be a lawyer forever, but at the same time, that this job just gives me quite a lot of things I need in my career. Flexibility, client interaction, interpersonal skill, a lot of organization and management skills, also the kind of reputation I need to thrive in any other careers. Okay, lastly, entrepreneur or business. Actually, this is technically not really a law career, but I will put it at the S tier because of the fact that I did a lot of research about the legal industry, right? I actually found that quite a lot of CEOs, they have legal background. There are a lot of lawyer turned CEOs in this world, and they are definitely the best of the best, right? They're really talented people, but at the same time, it made me realize that a lot of good lawyers, they're actually good entrepreneurs as well. They're good businessmen as well. That's why quite a lot of people, they want to make that jump. They don't want to do law anymore. They actually they actually move to the business side of the thing, and they succeed. And they're doing super well as well. Although that's definitely the minority of the population, right? But at the same time, I just want to flag this opportunity to you guys so that your career is like basically full of opportunities and you can basically do everything. And many people think highly of like corporate lawyers or lawyers in general because we have the abilities. So do not try to limit yourself to only one career option. That's the list. Actually, it's not too bad, right? I think quite a lot of occupation make it to the S, A, or B tier as well. So hopefully not a lot of people want to like shout at me or like curse at me because of my choices. But what do you guys think? Did I make any mistake or did I pick something wrong? Let me know in the comment section down below what's your pick of the S tier occupations. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I want to mention this list is by no means, a declaration of which occupation is superior or which occupation is inferior. It's definitely not the case. Everyone has their own preferences, but I just make this list based on my own personal preferences. Definitely don't take it so seriously, but I think that should be a nice video for some of you guys who just started your legal career or who just have no idea what you want to do in your life. As you can see, there are quite a lot of options out there, so don't give up and just keep chasing your goals and dreams. And this video is definitely way too long now. See you guys. Take care.